90 days from now, you're going to be in one of two places. And the strange part is, you already know which one it's going to be. You just don't want to admit it yet. That's not me trying to be dramatic. That's just the truth about how human beings work. We know. We always know. We know when we're drifting. We know when a year has passed, and we're standing in almost exactly the same spot we were standing in 12 months ago. We feel it, in the back of the chest somewhere. That low, uncomfortable feeling that shows up when you're quiet enough to actually notice it. And most people's response to that feeling is to get loud again, fill the silence, scroll through something, turn on a show, make plans they'll probably never follow through on. Anything to avoid sitting with the actual question, which is, what am I actually doing with the time I have? 90 days. Think about that for a second. 3 months. That's nothing in the grand scheme of a life. But it's also everything, because the version of you that exists 90 days from now is being built right now, today, whether you're intentionally building it or not. Every single day is a brick. The only question is what you're building. And here's what I think about a lot. Most people never connect the dots between what they do every single day and what their life eventually looks like. They think of their life as this big, separate thing. Something that happens to them. Something that appears or doesn't appear based on luck or circumstance or whether the timing was right. But it doesn't work like that. Your life is just the accumulated weight of your days. That's it. Nothing more complicated than that. Think about anyone you've ever admired. Anyone who built something, became something, achieved something that seemed almost impossible from the outside. If you look closely at how they did it, it almost always comes back to the same thing. Not one big decision, not one magical moment, just what they did every single day, consistently, when nobody was watching, when it wasn't exciting, when they didn't feel like it. That's the part nobody talks about, because it doesn't make for a great story. The story we like is the breakthrough, the overnight success, the moment everything changed. But the actual work that made that moment possible, that was just Tuesday and Wednesday and every ordinary, unremarkable morning before that. I think about this because I used to be the person who was always waiting for the right moment. Waiting until things settled down. Waiting until I felt more ready. Waiting until I had more time, more energy, more confidence, more clarity about which direction to go. And what happened while I was waiting? Life happened, and I wasn't steering it. I was just along for the ride, mostly. There's this specific kind of pain that comes from knowing you're capable of more and choosing not to act on it. It's different from the pain of failing. Failing hurts in a clean way, almost. You tried, it didn't work, you feel it, you move on. But the pain of not trying, of staying comfortable, of choosing the couch over the thing you said you wanted, that pain doesn't go away. It just kind of settles in and gets quiet and turns into something you stop noticing consciously, but carry everywhere. Maybe you felt that. Maybe you feel it right now. I'm not saying that to make you feel bad. I'm saying it because that feeling, that low, uncomfortable weight you've maybe learned to live with, that's actually useful. That's information. That's your life trying to get your attention. The question is what you do with it. Here's what most people do. They feel that discomfort, and they respond to it with a plan. A big, exciting, highly detailed plan. They're going to wake up at 5 in the morning. They're going to overhaul their entire diet. They're going to read for an hour every night. They're going to exercise 6 days a week. They're going to learn a new skill, start a business, save more money, call their family more, stop wasting time. All of it, starting Monday, or the first of the month, or after the holidays, or once things slow down. And there's something that happens in that moment of planning. It actually feels good. Planning feels almost identical to doing. The brain lights up. You feel motivated. You feel like you've already started. And sometimes you have started. A little. But the plan is almost always too large, too ambitious, too dependent on everything going perfectly, and too disconnected from what you can actually sustain when real life shows up. So 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, something happens. An unusually hard day. A week where everything feels sideways. A morning where you just don't have it, and the whole thing collapses. And then you feel worse than before. because now you've got the weight of a failed attempt sitting on top of the original discomfort, and you're a little less likely to try again the next time you feel that pull. This is the cycle most people never get out of. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't care, but because they keep approaching change with the wrong theory of how change actually works. Real change doesn't come from intensity. It comes from consistency, and those two things are not the same. In fact, they're almost opposites. Intensity is exciting, dramatic, unsustainable. Consistency is quiet, unremarkable, and incredibly powerful over time. Think about water and a rock. Water doesn't break a rock. Water just keeps moving, keeps touching the same surface, keeps going. And given enough time, it changes the shape of something solid. Something that seemed permanent. The water isn't powerful because it's forceful. It's powerful because it never stops. That's what 90 days of consistent action actually is. Not force, not willpower, just not stopping. And here's the piece that changes how you think about effort. The things you do every day don't just produce results. They produce you. Every single thing you choose to do with your time is casting a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. Every morning you get up when you said you would, you're becoming someone who gets up when they say they will. Every time you sit down and do the thing you said you were going to do, you're becoming someone who does what they say they're going to do. And every time you don't, you're becoming that version too. This isn't about moral judgment. It's just how identity forms. Slowly, quietly, one small repeated action at a time. Most people think confidence comes first, that you have to feel confident before you can take the action. So they wait. They wait to feel ready. They wait to feel certain. They wait for some internal shift that's going to make the doing feel easier. But that's backwards. Confidence doesn't come before the action. It comes from the action. Specifically, from doing hard things repeatedly and watching yourself do them. You can't think your way to believing in yourself. You have to act your way there. This is why 90 days matters. It's not a magic number. It's just long enough for the evidence to start accumulating. Long enough for you to start having a track record you can actually point to. Long enough for your brain to start updating its picture of who you are and what you're capable of. But let's talk about the hard part. Because there is a hard part, and it's not the part people think it is. Most people expect the hard part to be the beginning, mustering the initial motivation, overcoming inertia, getting started. And yeah, that takes something. But the beginning is usually fine. The beginning has energy. The beginning has novelty. The beginning has hope. The hard part isn't the beginning. The hard part is week 3, or day 42, or the Tuesday morning when you didn't sleep well, and you have 4 things on your plate that all feel urgent, and doing the thing you committed to sounds exhausting. The hard part is the completely ordinary, unremarkable moment when there's no inspiration, no momentum, no one watching, and you have to decide whether you're actually doing this or you're just doing it when it's convenient. That moment, that specific moment, is where your actual life gets decided. Not in the dramatic ones, in that one, the one nobody sees. I used to think that people who were consistent, people who showed up every day without fail, had something I didn't. Some stronger will, some extra reservoir of motivation, some genetic ability to just do hard things without it feeling hard. And then I got close enough to enough of those people to realize that wasn't true at all. They weren't always motivated. They didn't always feel like it. They had hard days and bad weeks and mornings, where they lay there wanting to not have to get up. The difference wasn't that the doing was easy for them. The difference was that they'd stopped making the decision every day. They'd made the decision once, and then they just honored it. Every day wasn't a new negotiation. Every day was just what they did. There's a difference between someone who exercises regularly and someone who's trying to exercise regularly. The person who exercises regularly, on some level, has already decided they're an exerciser. It's not a question anymore. They don't need to debate it on Thursday morning. It's just Thursday, and that's what Thursday looks like. But the person trying to exercise regularly has to make the case for it every single time. And you can only win that argument so many times before one day you just lose it. This is why habits are more powerful than decisions. A decision requires willpower. A habit requires almost none. Your brain eventually automates things you do consistently enough. The cognitive cost drops to almost nothing, and that's when the compounding really starts. Now, 90 days isn't enough to fully automate something, but it's enough to make something significantly easier than it was on day one. It's enough to start feeling the difference. Enough to see some evidence. Enough to shift from, I'm trying to become this person, to, I'm becoming this person. And that shift in how you see yourself changes everything downstream. But I want to be honest with you about something. Because I think a lot of motivational conversations gloss over this, and it leaves people feeling like they failed when they haven't really failed. They've just hit something real. There will be a day, probably more than one, in the next 90 days, where you miss, where you don't do the thing, where life gets sideways, or you get sick, or something comes up, or you just blow it. And when that happens, there's a specific voice that shows up, a voice that says, well, you broke the streak. It's over. You might as well start again on Monday. You might as well wait until the conditions are better. That voice is lying to you. Missing one day doesn't ruin a 90-day commitment. Missing one day and then missing the next day because you decided the first miss meant it was over. That's what ruins it. The real discipline isn't about never missing. The real discipline is about never missing twice. About refusing to let one bad day become the beginning of a pattern. One day doesn't define you. The response to that day does. And I think this is actually the deepest part of what it means to really commit to something. It's not about being perfect. It's about being persistent in the face of imperfection. It's about knowing you're going to have bad days and deciding in advance that a bad day doesn't cancel the commitment. It just interrupts it. You pick it back up. Think about something you've done consistently in your life. Something that's just part of your routine. Something you don't even think about. You probably didn't get there in one clean, unbroken streak. You probably stumbled. You probably had weeks where it fell apart. But somewhere along the way, the behavior survived enough of the bad weeks that it became part of who you are. That's the real process. Not clean and linear, messy and human and persistent. Now let me ask you something, and I want you to actually think about this, not just move past it. What is the one thing, if you did it every single day for the next 90 days, that would change everything? Not everything on your list. Not the 15 habits you want to build. Just one. The one that, if it actually happened, if you actually became someone who did that thing consistently, everything else would start to fall into line. Most people know what it is. They might not say it out loud. It might feel too vulnerable, or too far away, or too simple to admit, but they know. And usually, the reason they haven't done it isn't because they don't know how. It's because they keep underestimating how small and consistent the starting point needs to be. We are wired to think in dramatic terms. Big changes, big leaps, big transformations. But the actual mechanism of change is almost embarrassingly small. It's 10 minutes a day. It's one page. It's one phone call. It's one thing done before the rest of the day starts. It's the size that makes it survivable through the days when you don't have much left in the tank. And survivable is what matters. Because the only consistency that counts is the kind that actually continues. I think about the people I've watched change their lives. Not in the movies, in actual real life. And it almost never started with a dramatic moment. It started with a small thing done seriously. Not perfectly, not grandly, just seriously. With real intention behind it. With a decision that this time it wasn't just an experiment, it was a commitment. And there's a difference between those two things. An experiment, you can walk away from when it gets uncomfortable, because you were only testing. A commitment you can't walk away from without it costing you something. And that cost, that feeling of this actually matters, is part of what makes it work. The stakes are different. The relationship you have with the doing is different. When you make something a real commitment, you stop looking for the exit when it gets hard. Because there isn't one. You made the decision. You just have to figure out how to keep going. And there is always a way to keep going. I used to think the goal was motivation, to stay motivated, to maintain the feeling that makes the doing feel effortless. And I spent a lot of energy chasing that feeling, which is exhausting, because motivation is not a stable thing. It rises and falls. It responds to circumstances and sleep and what you ate, and whether your day went well. You cannot build anything lasting on motivation alone. What you can build on is decision, and structure, and identity, and the quiet satisfaction, the kind that doesn't make for a great social media post but feels like something real, of doing what you said you were going to do, even when you didn't feel like it. That satisfaction is actually profound. Not in a loud way, in the way of someone who knows who they are, who knows they can be relied on, at minimum, by themselves. There's something almost peaceful about that. When you stop wondering whether you're going to follow through, when the wondering just isn't part of the process anymore. But you don't get there by thinking about it. You get there by doing it long enough that the question of whether you're going to do it stops being interesting. 90 days from now, you'll know, for the first time maybe in a long time, whether you did the thing. Not sort of, not mostly. Whether you actually honored the commitment you made to yourself. And that knowledge, whatever it is, will tell you something important about the next 90 days, and the 90 after that, and the life that those days are quietly building. Here's what I know. The time is going to pass regardless. 90 days from now, it will be 90 days from now. The question isn't whether that time is going to pass. The question is who you're going to be on the other side of it. And the only way to control the answer to that question is to control what you do today, tomorrow, the day after. Not the sweeping gesture, not the grand declaration, just the small thing, done seriously, done every day, even when it's boring, even when you're tired, even when you're not sure it's working yet. There's a gap between where you are and where you want to be. Most people look at that gap and feel overwhelmed or defeated or like it's just too far. But the gap isn't crossed in one step. It's crossed in thousands of small steps, most of which feel almost insignificant in the moment and only look meaningful in retrospect. And the person who crosses it isn't necessarily the smartest person. It isn't the person who was born with the most talent, who had the best circumstances, who got the most lucky breaks. More often than not, the person who crosses it is just the person who kept going, who showed up on the bad days, who didn't require it to feel inspiring, who learned to find something almost stubborn and steady in themselves that the circumstances couldn't touch. You have that in you. I don't know you, but I know that, because it's in everyone. The question is just whether you're willing to find it. And finding it doesn't happen by looking inward and hoping it appears. It happens by doing something hard, consistently enough that you have no choice but to discover what you're actually made of. 90 days. One thing. Every day. That's not a motivational slogan. That's a real plan. Simple enough to actually execute. Long enough to actually matter. Specific enough that at the end of it, you'll know with certainty whether you did it. And here's the thing I want to leave you with. The version of you that exists on the other side of that commitment. The one who actually did it. Who showed up even on the bad days. Who kept the promise to themselves all the way to the end. That version of you is not some distant, idealized, impossible person. That is you. The capacity is already there. It's always been there. It's just been waiting for you to stop negotiating with it and start living from it. 90 days from now, you're going to be in one of two places. Only you can decide which one.